What's up, guys? Welcome to season 2 of Character Over Calling, episode 1. Clap your hands. Clap, clap, clap. Thank you. Thank you. Guys, listen, we are back with another season of Character Over Calling. This is your favorite podcast. Don't even play with me like that. Yep. We are so glad that you're back. Before we go any further, you already know what time it is. Who is sitting right here with me? Two of the most brilliant people I have ever met in my entire life. Listen, they already know. You already know I'm going to go all the way in. Y'all, let me tell you something. I'm going to start. I'm going to be polite. Ladies first. Gabriella, oh my goodness. Y'all, she is a human resources executive. And for privacy reasons, I'm not going to state the company, but at a very large company in North America. Don't worry about where it's at. Global. Excuse me, not North America. Popular stuff. Global. Okay, guys, will you welcome Gabby to the show? Welcome, Gabby. Welcome, Gabby. And guys, it's always an honor when we have a millionaire here in our presence to, just light the way for us. Show us, what we should be striving toward. Guys, you already know we have the foremost up and coming film director in all of these United States and beyond. We have Tyler Schuler here. Will you clap for him? If I could stand up without knocking this mic over, I would stand up right now. Gabby, okay, you just sit here. Okay, all right. Gabby, Tyler, thank y'all for coming. You already know it means a lot to me. I'm not gonna get too emotional about it, because I'm a crier. But guys, listen, we're here today, and even though we're laughing, even though we're smiling, today we're here to talk about a very serious topic. And before we begin, I definitely want to give a trigger warning to anyone, who may be dealing with some mental health struggles right now. We will be talking about depression, about suicidal ideation, about self-harm, things of that nature on this episode in honor of Depression Awareness Month in North America, October 2023. We are talking about Depression Awareness Month. Let me start by saying this. This episode is in memory of everyone who we've all ever known who has battled mental health, who has battled depression, who has struggled with depression, and ended up, transitioning and not making it. This episode is in memory of them. And then let me say this right here. This is an opportunity for some of you to clap for yourselves. This episode is in memory of them. But for those of you who have continued to fight, for those of you who have survived, for those of you who have chosen life even in moments when death seemed more bearable, this episode is in honor of you. So I just want to take a moment real quick and clap for everybody who decided to live. Let me begin by saying this. The fact that you decided to live means something. And I want you to know, and this may sound cliche, but you are alive because there is more for you. I know some of us have a lot of us have been in a situation before where we were extremely stressed or where we were depressed, where we were feeling weighed down. And I don't know about you, but there's been some nights that I went to sleep and I said before I went to sleep, well, if I go to sleep tonight and don't wake up tomorrow, maybe that'll be for the best. Because I think we can all accept and embrace the fact that there are moments in life where we just don't have any answers for where we are. Right. Moments in life where we don't have any explanation for where we've ended up. And we're trying to figure out how to make it. What do y'all think?
Most definitely.
Yeah?
Definitely agree, man.
Definitely.
100% true. There have been many times where it's just like, it would be so much easier if I just wasn't here.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's crazy because, and I really want to address that early on, because what depression actually is, and you will find this if you look it up. Depression is a mental disorder. And what does the word disorder mean? It means a state of confusion. And it means that sometimes our mental health, sometimes our depression can confuse us into thinking that there's no place for us here.
Right.
Exactly.
That we don't have a role here anymore. But the reality is that as long as you're still breathing, you still belong here.
Right.
What do you think, brother?
Most definitely. And I feel like sometimes you use the word confusion. a lot of people get confused on maybe even the definition, and they sometimes deny the fact that, like, hey, I'm depressed.
Yeah.
And they sometimes push through it, and they feel like they don't have to pay attention to it, and if they keep going, maybe they won't feel like this way, but
Wow.
that's only damaging more.
And I think like in the black church, and maybe you can speak to this, Gabby, and we talk about the black church, guys, because, that's a little bit of our scope. We're not limited to church, but we have experienced a lot of church. Church for a long time has been a place that many people, would have liked to have been able to go to get encouragement, get help, get healing when it came down to situations like mental health. But in the black community, we've made the topic of mental health so taboo.
Yeah.
We behave as though it's not real. And maybe if we ignore it, or maybe if we don't talk about it, then it'll cease to exist.
Right.
And I think the reality is that the reason that so many people have gone on feeling depressed, being depressed, and struggling with self-harm, struggling with suicidal ideation, is because they've never given themselves permission to address the fact that it actually is something that they're experiencing. We said it last season in one of our episodes. Sometimes, and I think it was the one that you were on, brother.
I have been.
It was the fact that you have to acknowledge things.
I was just about to say that.
Absolutely. So you can heal from it. Yeah.
Acknowledge so you can heal.
You have to acknowledge it. And we have been so conditioned, and we're talking about the black church, not only because we have a perspective that talks about church, but also because clearly we're black.
We're black. If you couldn't see
we
it.
are that. I almost called us colored, but I know we're in a different, listen. This may be the
Different
Depression Awareness Month episode, but y'all, my mind is still gone, so y'all have to bear with me for a moment. I almost called us colored, but we are African American. Okay, we are. Thank you. Don't want to take a step back. We're all right, guys. The reason that so many of us have failed to heal is because we've never given ourselves permission to feel. Wow.
Numb. Like
Literally numb.
Just always going, and never taking a second to just stop and realize, like, okay, this isn't normal.
Right.
I'm not okay.
Absolutely.
I'm keep loading myself with all these different things to escape what it is I'm actually feeling.
Lord Jesus.
You need to just stop
I'm
and
telling you.
feel it and deal with it in
Yeah.
that moment.
Absolutely, because the more things that we stack on and pile on in order to avoid, dealing with what we're feeling, it's the more things we have to go through later on to sift through to actually get to what the root is. You know why it's so hard sometimes for us to get to the root of the problem? Because we've piled so many other things on top of
You
it.
don't know what it is
It's like
anymore.
we're digging.
Absolutely. Gabby said you don't even know what it is
You
anymore.
don't even know.
You can't even remember the last time that you actually knew
Exactly.
what the problem was.
You have to go back and think about it, and you're like, oh, it was this. And then you're like, well, actually, no, because that stemmed from this. And
Absolutely.
then you've gone back
Yeah.
3 years, and you still trying to figure out where it started
And it's
from.
just like, how did I get to this point in time? What led to me feeling the way that I feel right now? How did I let myself get to the point where I couldn't even remember the last time that I was happy? I can't even remember the last time that I, had to, that I didn't have to force a smile. I can't remember that, and then it's like, it brings me to a very important point. How many of us are walking around on a daily basis wearing smiles, but struggling behind closed doors?
It's a lot.
Absolutely.
It's a lot, whether or not we want to admit it or not. It really is.
I have my days.
Yeah, I know I have mine.
My
have
days
my
all the
days.
time, every week.
And it's like some of us are, are dealing with the fact that, it's just, I don't know how to describe it. We've made a constant effort to fight. And because we've been fighting for so long, we have forgotten what it actually feels like to be happy. Like we've forgotten what it actually feels like to, be satisfied with life. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think
right.
that's something that is, it's habitual. It can become perpetual. And from a male's perspective, I think some of us as men have been trained not to
Right.
address what it is that we feel and address what it is that we're going through because we feel like it makes us weak.
Yeah, sometimes, honestly, and like I can attest to this, it's like men aren't supposed to have feelings. And that's like, especially in the black community, as black men, you're just supposed to be strong. Everybody's supposed to see you, big, you know, I'm not mad about anything, you
Yeah.
know, not sad about anything. I can't have a moment to myself where I can sit down and self-assess and really figure out what's wrong. It's more so just like hustle, 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 work, work, work. And I feel like that's also a part of the culture that we're in as well.
Yeah.
We just have to understand that we all have feelings. We're all human.
Absolutely.
And that we all can be confused sometimes. And being able to fix that problem within our culture will really help people not feel like they're so numb all the time.
And I don't even think we realize sometimes that depression is not only a chemical imbalance in the brain, but that there are external factors that contribute to us ending up depressed. Trauma, death, stress. Like these things are very real factors that contribute to us being the way that we are, to us feeling the way that we feel. What do you think about that, Gabby?
I think that's very accurate. Just all the different things that go on, and sometimes depression doesn't present itself as you like being sad or like you sitting in a room crying. Like sometimes it's just like a empty feeling. Like you just walk around just on zero.
Something's
like
missing, right?
Yeah.
easily irritable, all of these different things that don't look like textbook depression. It's not you sitting in a dark room like sad, but you're just irritable, you're stressed out, like all of these things. It presents itself in so many different forms and fashions. And it's necessary to understand all of those different things and how they may affect you so that you can acknowledge it, you can heal from it, you can persevere through what you're going through.
Because the way out is not to stay in, but it's to go through.
It's to go through.
What Gabby just literally opened up the door to is talking about functional depression. It's what a lot of Americans are dealing with right now. The fact that we have an obligation, we have a schedule that requires us to always move. We have a schedule that requires us to always be okay. And so because we are consistently moving, because we are consistently operating and we operate well, we think that that means that we're healthy mentally. And we're not. Some of us have been broken so long that we have learned how to glue the pieces together or tape the pieces together in a way that makes the figure still look presentable. But the reality is one strong win or one bump, one push,
So
Everything falls apart.
it falls apart. We'll be shattered all over again.
yeah,
And it's because mental health is not a one and done. Mental health is not just a let me check on myself today and I'll be fine for the next 5 years.
yeah,
You've got to take a self-assessment daily
daily.
to figure out how am I feeling? Well, sometimes people ask me, I know, they probably think I'm crazy. Well, like, Tyson, how are you feeling today? I don't know yet.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
You're
not
not
certain.
trying to be funny,
And I'm not trying to be funny.
really-
And I know it comes across as funny.
Right.
But,
in a
listen,
way, you're being serious.
I have not considered how I feel yet because there are things outside of me that are working very hard to impact how I'm doing on the inside of me. And I've got to figure out exactly how I feel about those things and how I'm going to process it.
And sometimes you're aware that those things are happening and you're trying not to let it get the best of you. So like whenever you sit and someone asks you how you're doing, you say, I don't know. It's like, you know that there are these things going on that can upset you, that can frustrate you, that can take you away from what you should be doing or what you want to be doing. But you're doing everything you can in your power to try and like fight through it. And so sometimes that's just why you just simply don't know, because you're doing everything you can. But there's some things that you just had to struggle through.
Right.
Absolutely. And I mean, even when we talk about the topic of the things that influence depression, I mean, let's be real. Coming out of 2020, 2021, the coronavirus killed everybody. Like, everybody was dying.
Yeah.
So many of us lost people. I watched my grandfather be taken off of life support. Like, I watched them pull the tube out of his mouth. I was there. That's an image that plays in my mind every single day. What do you do when something happens to you that makes your world stand still, but it seems like everyone else around you is still moving? What do you do when everything in your life has come to a complete halt and it agitates you to see the people around you still smiling
Right.
and moving and going? Because in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, how can you all be happy? Don't you know what?
Right.
Don't you know what happened to me? Yeah.
Like,
Like my granddad is dead.
Right.
Both of them. Both of them dead. They died 7 months apart. Like, both of them are gone. How are you all okay?
Right.
I can't think about school.
Right.
I can't think about work. I can't even think about myself. I'm stuck in a continuum of emotions and feelings, and I don't know how to get out. That's the only thing that's moving in me is my feelings.
Right.
And my tears, if I have any left. How do I get myself together enough not to be angry with the rest of the world for simply continuing to live?
Right. Because life goes on.
It has
whether
to.
you're there or not.
Literally. And
In a respectful way.
You know,
Like,
and it sounds so harsh to say that the show goes on.
But
But it must.
It must.
It must. And I think when it comes down to depression, because we're here talking about depression awareness, how do we recognize the signs of depression? How do we recognize the fact that, it may be time for us to ask for help? Mm-hmm. How do we recognize that? What do you think, Abby?
I don't know. I think it starts with being self-aware. You have to understand, like, okay, I've been having a lot of bad days, and see for yourself, but also not be closed off to hearing what other people have to say. A lot of times we take it personally when someone is like checking on us, when someone's saying, you haven't been yourself. Are you doing okay? You just want to shut down and be like, no, I'm fine.
Right.
But understand that if someone's coming to you and they're saying that to you, it's because they care about you.
Right.
They want to see you get better.
Right.
And so you have to have enough self-awareness to understand where you are, and also just enough general awareness, I guess, to understand that the people around you genuinely care about you. They're not saying these things, they're not doing these things to make you feel bad or to make you feel like you're some weak individual. They want to help you. They want to see you get better. And I feel like that's the first steps that have to be taken.
For men, that's it's kind of hard.
Very hard.
And I want to speak to something really quickly about our generation. A lot of us have a very bad habit of making the wrong things and the wrong people our safe places.
Right.
You have to be very careful about making someone your safe place without being exactly sure of their permanence in your life.
Exactly.
Because some of us have cheated ourselves into feeling insecure. Some of us have cheated ourselves into feeling unsafe because we made someone our safe place without absolutely being certain that they were going to stay.
Right.
You have to ask yourself the question, before you give all of yourself to someone, you've got to ask yourself the question, if they walk away from me today, will I be okay?
Right.
If they walk away from me today, will I still have safety? Will I be fine? Mm-hmm. The moment that we give someone so much control over our life,
The moment
without being certain whether or not they even intend to be there long term,
Right.
is the moment that we've lost our security.
Yeah.
And that leads to depression.
It does.
It leads to, because now I'm sitting here thinking to myself, well, maybe I don't have the ability to make decisions for myself the way that I thought that I did. Mm-hmm. Or maybe I don't have this all figured out the way I said that I did.
Right.
How do we move forward from that? Because what happens is that so many of us end up in moments of disappointment, and instead of moving on from that moment, we settle there. And so moments of temporary disappointment become seasons of disappointment.
Right.
What do you do when you've extended the clock on your disappointment? How do you bounce back from that? Let me tell you something. When you see disappointment coming your way, at the first sign of disappointment, you've got to automatically make the decision to move forward. You have to automatically make the decision that I'm not going to allow this to become a place of comfort for me. Think about depression. What do some of us do when we feel depressed? We stay in the bed, we keep the blinds closed, right? We do all these things that make us comfortable. Why? Because we're settling in to what we feel. Be very careful about settling in to moments of disappointment and allowing them to become seasons.
Right. I also think one thing that's very, very important is that we need to have a positive consistency, if you get what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Like, we're very consistent in our lives, but we might consistently do something that's bad every single day to the point where we don't even realize, hey, like, there's a problem within my consistency. You know, everyone thinks of consistency as get up, go to the gym at 8 a.m. every day, do this, do that, do that. And then you forget that in that form of consistency, there's a really, really unhealthy thing for you at 9 p.m. before you go to bed.
Right.
You know, that could be universal or whatever it is. But we do that every single day. There's 365 days in a year. Imagine we do that every day.
It's a lot of negativity.
That's what I'm saying. So we have to really think about, like, if we're going to be consistent, it needs to be positive. One thing that I like to do is I like to really treat myself sometimes, not negatively on my account, for real, but in a positive way where it's like, I've been eating, so, you know, I go to college. I've been eating this dining hall food for the past 8 days.
It's getting rough.
Right. Let me just go treat myself to some real whole food, fresh food that I can enjoy just to kind of dial back.
Right.
And sometimes you can find some self-assessment in that process as well. Or let me just go on a run. Okay, instead of working out here, let me work out here. You know, it's just those really small things that when we get really comfortable in an area of straight consistency, I really think that we can understand ourselves by doing something different.
And I think some of us have neglected to give ourselves that self-care because we're not certain that we're worthy of it.
Right.
You know, we feel like we have something to prove to ourselves before we treat ourselves the way that we deserve to be treated.
Like you have to earn it.
Like you have to earn it.
If I do this, then I can treat myself to this.
And the crazy part is that's one of those unhealthy ways of thinking.
Hence on the hustle culture thing that I was talking about earlier, we have to stop thinking about money every single moment of our lives. Yeah, money is involved, but what happens when you're not healthy enough to work?
Absolutely.
What about the money that you need, not the money that you truly want?
And the crazy part about it is, and y'all tell me how you feel about this, I think one of the most unhealthy things that our generation has decided to do is stop dreaming. Like you said, we're in that hustle culture where we're so much after money that sometimes some of us can't even see where our dreams are the only things that keep us alive. We have to give ourselves something to look forward to in order to maintain consistent happiness.
Right.
You know, and life has a way of beating us into submission to quote unquote letting the chips fall wherever they may, or letting things take quote unquote their natural course. Well, sometimes the problem with that is this: by letting the chips fall where they may, you've lost your tenacity. The reality is this: you have permission to dream, and you should. You should dream. You should go after everything that you've ever wanted. And sometimes, like we talked about settling, deciding that you're no longer worthy of that pursuit of the things that make you happy, of the things that make you smile, is how you end up in a low, low place.
Yeah. Very low place. That's very big in especially the area that I'm at, because sometimes you have to sit behind the desk for 7 hours and edit, and sometimes you have to sit in a room and brainstorm about ideas that could be very sad, where these ideas can almost become, you know, your false reality.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to step back from things. Like whenever I'm writing, I have to realize, like, I'm writing a very sad story right now. I need to be in the right mental space to do certain things. So I feel like if we move with that sort of intention, that's like the biggest thing. Like everybody's like, you have to be intentional with things.
Yeah.
And when you move with that sort of intention, you can almost kind of control what comes in, what goes out.
And man, it's just, I know what it is to face the different parts of my life. You know, even working, you know, certain jobs that, you know, and this is a little bit different than what you said, but just when you said sitting behind the desk, it got me to thinking.
Yeah.
Like, I've worked jobs that make me feel absolutely miserable, where I have to get up in the morning and coach myself,
Walk out that door.
force myself to walk out the door. Now, and before I even do that, I've got to coach myself to get out of the bed.
Had to roll out the bed.
What do you mean your alarm clock goes off at 7:15 and you hit snooze 8 times? Why would you do that? But having to coach yourself to go to a place that doesn't seem like it's contributing to your future can do that to you. And I know what it is to go through life and get into a cycle of consistently doing something that makes you unhappy.
Right.
And something that I've challenged myself to do is to stop doing that. Because contrary to popular belief, we all have options.
Right.
I don't care who you are. I don't care what you've been going through. I don't care how many kids you have. Let me say that again. I don't care how many kids you have. I don't care how many kids you have. You still have options. Why? Because there's something in you deep down that wants to be birthed, that wants to see light, that you've been suppressing because you're not certain whether or not you have the opportunity or whether you have the capacity to bring it to pass.
Right.
Your job is not to bring it to pass. Your job is to allow it to see the light of day. Wow.
That's it right there.
Literally.
That's it.
Your job is not to carry the vision out completely, but your job is to make sure that it sees sunlight. How many of us talk ourselves out of the dreams that we have because we don't think that they're possible based upon what we've seen,
And what we hear.
what we've heard? What if now? What if?
What if?
What if?
Just speculation.
Hypothetically now.
hypothetically.
Hypothetically. What if you're supposed to be the first person to do it? What if you're supposed to be the first woman of your time to make it as far as you're going to make it in your career field, Gabby? What if? Tyler, what if you're supposed to be the first millionaire in your 20s in your family? What if you're supposed to be that?
You'll never know, though, would you? If you never
bring it to the light of day. Wow.
Gotta go for it.
You got to go for what you know. And even when you don't know for sure, you still got to go for
You
it.
still have to
Yeah.
go for it.
Why? Because your life is depending on it. Your happiness is depending on that. And, there'll be moments where it'll be hard.
Or it
There'll be
feels like
moments
you want to quit.
where you want to quit. But those are the moments where you have to settle for peace over understanding. The Bible, of course, we're going to go back to it because it always gives us such good references. There's a scripture in the Bible that talks about the fact that God gives us peace that does what? Surpasses all understanding. There will be moments in our lives where we may not understand exactly what's going on, but the peace that God gives us is so much more sufficient than any level of understanding that we could ever have.
Right.
And I know this is a little off topic, but I'd ask the question of this. What would you do if the understanding that you've been looking for, if the explanation that you've been looking for broke your heart? What if the reason that God allowed what he allowed is too much for you to handle? That's why he said, I'll give you peace that surpasses all understanding. It surpasses it. It'll do more for you, and you'll be able to handle it. Because the reality is, the reason that he did what he did may not be something that you can comprehend.
Right. It's beyond comprehension.
Absolutely.
It might be too much for you at the time. You just had to have peace and trust that it's going to come when it's supposed to come. You can't take everything. You can't know everything when you're not supposed to, because then you just get information overload and you do nothing because you're just like paralyzed almost with
Everyone was
knowing.
always like, trust the process. But
And too much information literally will cause us to feel the need to numb ourselves. And then when we feel the need to numb ourselves, later on we'll feel like we need to feel again. And that's where we get into the topic of self-harm. I've become so numb to the things around me because of what they did to me that now I can't feel anything, but I desperately need to feel.
Right.
I need to feel something. I can't go on if I don't feel anything.
Right.
And so now for whatever the reason may be, I feel the need to hurt myself. I feel the need to cut myself so that I can make sure that I can still feel.
Right.
So that I can make sure that, I'm still, like I'm still here. And it's rough. It's rough when people are hurting themselves because all they want to do is be able to feel something. This whole thing is so cyclical, how everything always feeds into everything else. I heard this quote one time that was so important. It said, all things are so delicately interconnected.
Everything.
They're all related. What do y'all think? Yeah.
Go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, it is. Everything's connected. In all honesty, I mean, I don't have many words to further explain that because it's so complex.
Yeah.
In a way that, like, it almost makes my head hurt. But,
Yeah.
like, every little thing is so connected. Like, any decision. Have y'all ever thought about, like, what your dreams were as a child? And then, like, what they
What they've
morphed
become.
into?
Yeah.
And then you realize, well, first I wanted to be a CIA agent. Then I wanted to be a scientist.
Yeah.
Why do I want to be a filmmaker now? You know, like,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
like,
Like, what
but
happened?
everything is so connected. Like, you may not know further along down the line that your movies just so happen to be something that's uncovered, that
Yeah.
the CIA may have covered up,
Yeah.
that is science related. You know, everything
all
is
related.
so, it's all connected. So
Yeah.
you have to think about that way when you think about your emotions and your mental health, because just like the body, everything's connected.
Everything.
And if one thing malfunctions, another thing can malfunction, another
The
thing
rest
can be
goes
suppressed.
downhill.
And next thing you know, the graph is,
Yeah. It's like if you get kidney failure,
yeah.
you know, everything else is downhill from there. So you got to maintain the entire body, including the mind. Because if your mind is gone, what else can you do?
Nothing.
Can't get it back.
Can't get it back. The last thing I want to talk about, just while I have y'all here, and this is a little bit of a change of topic, because the podcast is character over calling. I like to speak to things that young leaders go through, and you know the problems that they have. And one of the thoughts that came to my mind as it pertains to this episode, and I know this is probably going to sound random, but one of the most imperative thoughts that I've had about this episode is 3 simple words: they always change. One of the most depressing things in being a young leader, in being called, in being chosen, is realizing the changes in the relationships around you. I was sitting thinking last week about the fact that when you are becoming a leader, the way that the people around you view you changes. Because there may have been a time where you all were friends, you were peers, right? And they loved you for who you were. You know, we've all been there, you know, we have friends around us who love us for who we are. But the moment that you begin becoming who you are, they begin loving you for what you have to offer. And so how depressing can it be to have to face the fact that many of your relationships that used to be mutual in the future will be strictly transactional?
Things become very one-sided.
One-sided.
You like clock it, and it's almost like you can see when these changes are occurring, and it's like you want to tell yourself it's not happening, but you can watch it go to just simply be very one-sided. Like where you used to mutually reach out and check in on each other, you're always the one reaching out. You're always the one pouring into other people, but no one's ever pouring back into you, or someone sees what you're accomplishing. And it's always like, oh, how did you get this? Or who can you connect me with who can help me get to this point before you even said hello? How are you
Never,
doing?
how are you doing? Never just, how are you doing?
Never, how are you? Never, how's life? Have you been? Just always, hey, exclamation mark, can you?
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay.
And being different can be so lonely.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
it can be so lonely. It's lonely when you know that you're on a track that nobody else is on. You know, you're on a track that maybe other people had the opportunity to be on, but chose not to be on.
Right.
And I remember it was last year sometime, the Lord spoke to me and told me that many of us were getting ready to come into a season where we would not see eye to eye with the people who we had in the past. And it wouldn't be because we thought that we were better than them. It would be because we took the opportunity when God gave it to us to elevate. And he gave them the same opportunity, but they hesitated and decided not to go. You have to be aware of people who only enjoy seeing you in one place.
Right.
And it will be lonely to realize that there are people in your life who are only comfortable seeing you struggle. It is lonely to realize that a part of leadership is people being able to depend on you and you not being able to depend on them.
Anybody.
I can tell you right now, there are way more people who can depend on me and who can count on me than I can count on. And that can be a sad reality some days.
Yeah.
But
Extremely.
I've had to fight through it, you know. I've had to decide to make it. It's been times where I felt so lonely that I couldn't see any purpose for continuing to go on. Look at people around me, you know, they have their, you know, their relationships and, you know, and they seem to have these big friend groups and, you know, it makes me feel some kind of way sometimes. But I had to realize all my friends are busy.
Right.
Like, you know, and I'm busy. I'm looking at what they have and it looks good, but I don't even have time to have what they have.
Right.
You don't know what they actually have. You see a snapshot. You see what they want you to see.
That's why social
So,
media is so like.
yeah.
Sorry for cutting you off, but yeah. that's why
Imposter syndrome, FOMO,
Wow.
like all of these things, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. You
It's
don't
not.
know what this other person has going on. The
Yeah.
person could be struggling just the same way you're struggling behind closed doors. So it's like they say, comparison is the thief of joy. You don't
It
want
is.
to compare yourself to what you're seeing other people do or what you think other people have, because you have no idea what it is that they're really going through.
Right.
And you like you can say, "Oh, I wish I had that." You don't want those problems.
One of my favorite preachers, Bishop S.Y. Younger, says that people know the headlines, but they don't know the details.
Right.
They see the headlines, but they never read the story. Sometimes we see things that look good from afar, but in all actuality would probably
It's a
kill
mess.
us if they belonged to us.
Yeah.
You know, social media contributes so much to that depression. And so many of us are looking around, seeing people get degrees that we wish we could get, you know, get cars that we wish that we could get houses that we wish we could get, you know, or be in relationships that we wish we could be in. But he's putting his hands on her behind closed doors, and you don't even know,
Right.
you know?
And they talking about they happy.
Yeah, she is beating him up.
Right.
Like, yes, like she just mollywopped him the other day. Like that, like, no, that's
That's
not good.
concealer under that
Like
eye.
literally, like that's makeup. Like, do you not see the pain in their faces? What did we talk about earlier? People who were smiling in public, but struggling behind closed doors. Depression is so real. And I know that we're probably, you know, just about over our time. So if it's okay with y'all, I want to share just like a personal story real quick.
Of course.
For anyone who is currently dealing with depression, I hope it has helped you to hear in this episode that there are other people who are going through some of the same things that you're going through. I remember there was a time when I was 11 years old, and that is the earliest time in my life that I can ever remember being depressed. You know, I was going through some things at home, and one night I laid down in my bed, and I could not stop myself from crying. And I was just so upset about my life and about the things that I had been going through at 11 years old. And I remember getting up, feeling tormented, and going and telling my mother that I wanted to die. And I told her that I wanted to die because I felt like there was no one else around me who loved me. And I felt like if I was gone, it wouldn't matter. My mother had to name to me the people around me who cared about me so that I would find the will to continue living. I know factually that there's someone watching this right now that's dealing with the same thing. There is somebody who will watch this podcast that is trying to figure out why they should continue going. I can't tell you that your good days will always outweigh your bad days in quantity. Oh, no. You may have more bad days than good days. But one thing I can assure you is that your good days will always outweigh your bad days in quality. Quality over quantity.
You hear that for a while.
Wow. You will be okay. And we're going to have some resources at the end of this video that you can reach out to if you're feeling depressed, you need someone to talk to, or you have thoughts of suicidal ideation or self-harm. Listen, these topics are real. We're here for you, and we want you to be okay. I know what it is to have to be talked off the ledge. I know what it is to be numb and self-harm so that you can feel better.
Right.
And I'm not ashamed of that. And for whoever it is that has cuts on their wrist, their leg, wherever it is, I want you to not be afraid of the fact that those things exist, because our scars don't tell the story of our weakness. They just tell the story of where we made it out of. And because the wound healed, it means that you made it. And I want you to continue making it, because you are loved, you are needed, and there is still more for you to experience. Life is not over for you. It's only just beginning. I don't want to cut y'all out of the conversation. What, do y'all have anything to
Nah,
say?
you said it.
Anything, Gabby?
I just say take care of yourself. Just remember to take care of yourself. The seasons are changing. It's getting darker sooner. The sun isn't out as much. Open the windows. Take some vitamin C.
Yeah.
And just take care of yourself. Do things that bring you joy, that bring you happiness. And just let yourself feel. Just take care of yourself. There's a reason to keep going. Like Tyson said, just keep going.
Gabby said something, very important about seasonal depression. I'm telling you, and I don't want to be churchy with you, but I don't think it's coincidence that every year around the same time, people start dealing with very, very heavy depression. I believe the enemy works in patterns, and he does the same things over and over to different people. We're not ignorant of Satan's devices, and that's why we can prepare for them. I don't want you to be caught off guard by the idea of the devil trying to depress you or trying to use depression against you. And I'm not saying depression is the devil's attacking. I'm not saying
That's
that.
not what he's saying. Listen.
I want you to hear me.
Don't clip
I'm
this.
saying that the devil will use whatever it is that's already present in your life to make you make a decision that you can't come back from. Please stay here. Please do not stop living. Do not stop breathing. Whatever you do, please do not stop. You are loved. You're cared for. You are needed. You are loved. You are cared for. You are needed. And I know that sometimes it feels like the water is right up around your neck. I know. I know sometimes it feels like the waves have already come over your head. But I tell you what, the waves are going to crash and things will even back out again. One of my favorite sayings is that the darkest hour is just before dawn. The sun does not have a choice but to shine again. Before we go, I just want to say this quick prayer for you. Even if you're not religious, just hear the words that I'm going to say, okay? You can close your eyes wherever you are. You can lift your hands or not. It doesn't matter. I just want your heart to be open. Father, in Jesus' name, Lord, these are your children that need you, that are hurting, that are broken, some of which feel like they're dying. And what we're asking is that you would stretch out your hand, that you would do whatever needs to be done to let them know that you're still here, that you're still there, that you are everywhere all at the same time. God, not only are you everywhere, but you are more than aware of what we're dealing with. You knew what we would be dealing with and where we would be with it before we even got there. And so, God, even though we can't change the way that things are right now, we rejoice in the fact that you've already known all about it for some time now. There's someone who is considering harming themselves again. There's someone who feels like it's bad enough to blow their head off. There's someone who feels like things have gotten so bad that they just can't make it anymore. God, I ask that you would move their finger off of the trigger. I ask that you would take the razor out of their hand and remind them that you love them and that they are worthy of light and they are worthy of love. And that even if those two things have left them, they'll come back again. They're going to find balance again. There will be sunshine again. And the tears that are flowing now won't always flow as heavily as they are. We love you and we expect that you're going to do these things for us, God, because we're your chosen generation and you want to see us be okay. So we thank you in advance because all you ever had to do was be God and you've never ceased to do it. We love you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Y'all, this has been a great episode. I feel like, what do y'all think?
Good.
Solid.
I feel like, yeah, solid. I don't know how to feel about the word solid. Is that a good thing?
Solid. Yeah.
You know,
solid.
I'm not
Still.
very like up to date with the, so you'd be like solid. I'd be like,
What are you
so
talking
what
about?
was the
He's
episode?
21 talking about I'll be up to
Tyler,
date.
I'm 21 and going on 70. I can't help myself. I'm trying.
Solid.
I just learned how to, what was the word I just
Solid
learned how to
as well.
use? Bet? No, not
No.
that one. What was it?
I don't know. You've been using bet for a while though.
I don't remember saying that.
For sure.
I don't even like the word that for sure.
For sure.
How does that for sure?
Don't say that.
For sure.
Don't say for
That's
sure.
not for you.
For sure. That sounded pretty good just now when I said.
Immediately no.
Okay, immediately no. All right.
Immediately no.
I'll leave that alone.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
Oh, okay. Guys, listen. This episode has been excellent. Like I said, there will be some resources on the screen after this that I want you to take advantage of because I know that you need it. Listen, like Gabby said, take care of yourself. You know, Tyler gave us so many amazing points, and I can only imagine what it's like being a creative, having to portray so many different people's perspectives on a consistent basis and still maintain your sanity.
own, yeah.
Whoa. So y'all keep him in prayer because he is an up and coming great. Like the world will know, he'll be a household name. You remember I said it. He'll be a household name. The world will know his name. Just pray for him as he continues to become who he's becoming. Joseph too, Cameron too, Gabby too. And if you have any prayers left,
And
pray for
please.
me too. Because I can't talk to you guys about anything that I'm not already going through. So if you haven't already followed us on Instagram, stroke got on me. Follow us on Instagram at character. Listen. Character over calling, okay? And subscribe to our YouTube channel. And like I said, don't you tell no lie talking about you couldn't find our episode because go to our highlights. Don't DM me talking about something we need to make the links. No, don't do that. You're a bald-faced lie from the pits of hell. I love you anyway, though. Listen, don't judge me, judge your mama. Listen, we're going to talk soon. I love you so much.
That was not a good one.
No?
Try this one.
Oh, no, that looked like something else. I'm not going to do that.
What? Your fingers are just shaped weird. Just do this one. Just do
You know, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just...
Bend
I
your
don't even look.
fingers.
Anyway, listen, you get the point. We love you. We'll be back soon. Y'all take care of yourselves. Be safe. And listen, if you need us, we're only one DM away. Love you guys. Talk to you later. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye now. Bye. Bye.